Welcome, my weird witches. You've found Raven's Lorecast, where folklore, fire, and a little fierce honesty all meet in the same cauldron. I'm Raven Lorekeeper, storyteller, witch, and your unapologetic guide through myth, magic, and all the places the world told you not to wander. This podcast exists because magic deserves to be honest, witchcraft deserves to be inclusive, and every one of us who grew up other deserves a place to finally exhale. So pour yourself something comforting, settle in, and remember, the world may not have been built for us, but the magic was. Take a breath with me, weird ones. In and out. Slow. Witch slow. Because tonight, we are opening a door the manor usually keeps half closed. The doorway into familiar magic. Not pets, not mascots, not aesthetic accessories for witches who want to cosplay spooky. Familiars are older than that. Older than written magic. Older than most gods. They're born from the threshold between worlds. Half spirit, half instinct, half mystery. Yes, I know that's three halves. Math bends differently at the Vale. Inside the manor, the place that shifts with the seasons, the land, and the lore, familiars roam freely. They arrive without being summoned, stay without being asked, and teach without ever speaking a single human word. Most days you won't see them, you'll feel them. A weight at the foot of the bed, a prickle at the back of your neck, a soft, you missed something, nudge from somewhere. A presence watching like they've always known you. Familiars choose witches, not the other way around. And tonight, we begin the first chapter of the Familiar series, What the Cat Remembered. Because cats were always the first teachers, the first shadows, the first creatures to stare straight into the other world and not blink. I won't give you their full stories tonight. That's sacred Patreon work, built for those who want to walk deeper into the manor. But I will introduce you to the ones who made themselves known. There is Hades, the black smoke Maine Coon with eyes like green candles in a tomb, a creature who sees through lies like they're made of glass. There's Hera, soft-flanked recessive calico queen, purring like a healing ward when she chooses you, fierce as a storm surge when she doesn't. And there is Calliope, the forever kitten, tiny and impossible, as if starlight condensed itself into fur because it wanted to sit in your lap and judge your life choices. They don't come when they're called. They come when the moment needs them. And tonight's moment, it's perfect. The sky is quiet. The moon is waning. The planets are humming instead of roaring. A week built for liminality, for subtle magic, for feline perception. Tonight, we step into the space where spells don't need to be spoken. They only need to be witnessed. Let the candle burn low. Let your breath slow down. Let your intuition stretch awake like a cat waking from a sun nap. Because the familiars are watching, remembering, teaching, and one of them has something for you. Welcome to episode 7, Weird Ones, The witch's familiar, what the cat remembered. The manner shifts when a familiar is ready to teach something. Not the loud shifts, not the thunder in the walls of a sabbat, or the crystalline humming before a dragon arrives, or that strange, shimmering sensation when the house decides to move across continents without warning. No, cat magic announces itself differently. Quiet, soft, like dust motes deciding to dance in a shaft of light, like the sound of a single paw step on ancient floorboards, like the sound of a single paw step on ancient floorboards, like breath pooling low in your belly for no reason except that something old has begun paying attention. That's how it started tonight. I had just lit one small candle, the only kind of light cats allow when they're ready to speak, and the manor exhaled. Not a creak, not a groan, a settling, as if the house knew that cat stories require stillness. I curled into the great chair by the fire, the one the familiars pretend isn't theirs but absolutely is, and the room rearranged itself. Shadows lengthened, the candle shifted into a soft amber glow. Somewhere in the library, a book sighed open on its own. This is cat magic. Subtle, liminal, intentional. And before I could say a word, the veil thinned. Not enough for a spirit to walk through, just enough that you could feel the universe leaning in, curious. That's when they arrived. Soft paw steps, slow, unhurried, commanding without trying. First, a silhouette big as a rumor and quiet as a secret. Hades, the black smoke Maine Coon, green eyes glowing like twin lanterns in a cave. He doesn't announce himself. He materializes. The air bends around him like he's a gravity well for intuition. Next, the warmth, the hush, the soft, intentional presence of sovereignty itself. Hera, my calico queen, stepping into the firelight like she's inspecting the energy of the room for emotional contaminants. And then the spark, the tiny cosmic joke, the infinitesimal star that refuses to stop burning. Calliope, the forever kitten, hopping onto the arm of my chair as if she were invited. She wasn't. She never needs to be. I nodded. They blinked. The slow, feline blessing. And somewhere inside the manor, something unlocked. A drawer, a memory, a veil. Because familiar magic, true familiar magic, requires three things: presence, perception, permission. Tonight, I had all three. Let's talk about cats as threshold beings. Long before witches were ever written, before the first cauldron was forged, before the first invocation was whispered under a new moon, there were cats. Not the domesticated companions we know now, but the wild, sharp, uncanny watchers who slipped between the human world and the world beneath the world like they belonged to both. Every culture that kept a fire burning long enough eventually noticed the truth. Cats are the creatures who walk closest to the veil. In Egypt, they were guardians of the underworld pathways. In Greece, companions to Hecate, she of the crossroads, prophecy, and witchcraft. In Celtic lands, black cats weren't omens of misfortune. They were fairy creatures, messengers, guardians, and sometimes judges. And across the ancient world, witches knew if a cat sat beside you in ritual, the veil had already agreed to open. But the most important thing to understand, cats don't serve witches, and they don't serve gods. They serve truth, the deeper truth, the soul truth, the truth you tried to avoid by cleaning the bathroom or reorganizing your altar instead of doing shadow work like you promised. A cat will sit next to your grief without trying to fix it. A cat will stare straight into your anxiety until you stop lying to yourself. A cat will watch you from the window the moment you try to run from your intuition. Cats remember things humans forget. What we feared, what we wanted, what we couldn't say, what our magic tried to whisper when we weren't ready to listen. Familiars don't teach with words, they teach with mirrors. Here's the first lesson: see without forcing. Hades circled one of my feet, tail brushing my ankle like a boundary check. Hera hopped onto the hearthstone, curling herself around the candle flame as if she were weighing its light. Calliope climbed directly onto my shoulder and stared at the listeners like, "Are you paying attention? This part matters." Because this lesson is the core of all familiar magic. Cats don't see in the dark, they see in the in-between. Humans wait for bright clarity, big omens, obvious signs. Cats wait for the moment the world forgets it's being watched, and then they act. This is the magic that witches forget when they chase the dramatic. The strongest intuitive hits rarely come in ritual. They come while washing dishes, walking to the mailbox, taking a shower, staring at nothing, waiting for the kettle to boil. Cats live in this zone, the liminal, the ambient, the moment before the moment. Every witch who's ever said, "I just knew," was tapping into cat magic, whether they realized it or not. The second lesson is your boundaries are your power. Hera's tail flicked, slow, measured, sovereign. Cats don't apologize for having needs. They don't justify their space. They don't negotiate their comfort. They don't shrink to be liked. They maintain energetic hygiene with ruthless grace. Every time a cat refuses to come when called, that's boundary magic. Every time a cat rejects someone's energy, that's psychic discernment. Every time a cat chooses to sit on your chest when you're grieving, that's intuitive triage. Witches forget this often because we are trained, especially femme witches, to soften our edges. Cats do not soften, they align. And when a familiar aligns with you, it's because you're finally aligned with yourself. This is why familiars are not pets. They're mirrors for magical boundaries. The third lesson is memory is a spell. Calliope curled into my lap then, tiny and cosmic, staring at the flame like she could see through time. She can. Familiars often can. Because memory is not linear. Memory is lunar. It waxes, it wanes, it pulls at us like tide water. It reveals only what we are ready to understand. Cats understand memory better than we do. They remember things we forget, things our spirits hid for safekeeping, things we carried without knowing why, things our ancestors whispered into our bones. You ever notice how a cat will stare into a corner like someone's standing there? Maybe someone is. Maybe someone always was. Tonight's lesson is this: memory isn't what happened, memory is what stays. Familiars help witches remember who we were, who we are, who we are becoming. Cat magic is ancestral magic, but subtle. Never loud, never showy, always intentional. The fourth lesson is sit still and the truth will find you. This is the part of familiar lore humans resist the most: stillness. Hades stopped moving. Hera stilled her breath. Calliope blinked once, slow enough to be a blessing. Stillness isn't passive. Stillness is a summoning. Cats know this. They don't chase meaning. They let meaning present itself. The manor responded. A soft vibration in the walls. A hush from the library. A subtle shift in the air that told me something old had entered the room. Familiar magic doesn't reveal itself when you demand clarity. It reveals itself when your spirit becomes quiet enough to hear what was always speaking. And this is the soul of cat lore. Sit still long enough, and your truth will come find you. The fifth lesson: not everything is meant to be known. Some things are meant to be felt. The fire popped. The candle guttered. And all three cats lifted their heads at once, like they were listening to something humans could not yet hear. There are truths witches aren't meant to articulate. There are truths that dissolve when spoken. There are truths that must be stored in fur, in dreams, in intuition, in the hush between heartbeats. Sometimes, when the truth is too old or too powerful for words, it doesn't settle in a cat at all. It settles in older creatures, the ones who remember the beginning. Lilith would say that cats are simply the librarians of those truths, not their authors. Cats carry those truths for us. They remind us that magic isn't the spell. Magic is the sensation, the shiver, the pulse, the whisper, the I don't know why, but something is shifting. Cats don't explain, they reveal. And tonight, listener, something has been revealed to you, quietly, gently, on padded feet. Maybe it was a memory. Maybe a boundary. Maybe a truth you'd been avoiding. Maybe a fear you've outgrown. Maybe a part of you left behind long ago. Whatever it is, the cats noticed it first, and they've brought it back to you. Hades stood and stretched, long, slow, a shadow waking. Hera blinked in approval, satisfied that the energy was clean. Calliope hopped down from my lap and trotted off, tail high, mission accomplished. Familiars don't linger when the teaching is done. They trust witches to process in their own time. Because cat magic is not about obedience, it's about awakening. And tonight, something in you has awakened. We'll carry that into the celestial weather, into the kitchen witchery, and into the ritual work that comes later. But for now, let the lore settle. The cats have spoken. All right, weird ones. Come with me to the window. Not to perform awe, not to romanticize the sky like it's of glittery Van Gogh, but to remember something older than religion and deeper than opinion. The night has always been one of our teachers. And tonight, January 11th, 2026, the sky is teaching in a very specific dialect. Not the New Beginnings dialect, not the big manifestation dialect. This is the dialect of witness, of what stays, of what returns, of what the body remembers even when the mouth has been trained to forget, which, if we're being honest, is exactly the domain of the familiar. Because a cat doesn't remember like a historian. A cat remembers like a creature who has survived. A familiar remembers the energy of a house, the truth of a person, the pattern underneath your pattern. And tonight's sky, it's speaking the same way. We're coming out of the last quarter, that hinge point in the lunar cycle where the moon isn't growing, isn't blooming, isn't showing off. She's doing something more difficult. She's subtracting. Depending on where you are, the exact timing of the quarter moon lands right around January 10th or 11th, which means January 11th carries the feeling in its bones. The moon has turned the corner, and now she's moving toward the dark. A lot of people misunderstand this part of the cycle because we've been trained to worship expansion like it's moral. But the waning half of the moon is where the real craft lives. Because waning is not less magic. Waning is distilled magic. It's the phase of cutting noise, releasing residue, trimming the story down to the truth, and deciding what you will no longer carry just because you can. That is familiar work. A cat doesn't carry what it doesn't need. A cat doesn't apologize for needing rest. A cat doesn't negotiate with nonsense. So if your nervous system has felt frayed, or your attention has felt scattered, or your spirit has felt like it's been dragging a bag of wet stones, this moon is not here to hype you. She's here to say, drop it. Not violently, not dramatically, just finally. Now, let's talk about the loudest thing in the sky right now, Jupiter. Jupiter reached opposition on January 10th, which is sky speak for Jupiter is opposite the sun from our perspective, and that makes it bright, big, and visible for most of the night. I love Jupiter for this episode because Jupiter is not subtle. Jupiter is the ancient archetype of the judge, the teacher, the amplifier, the one who makes things bigger so you can't pretend you didn't see them. And a familiar does the same thing. You can lie to your friends, you can lie to your therapist, you can lie to your own reflection if you've been practicing long enough, but you cannot lie to a cat. Your cat knows your real mood before you do. Your cat knows when you're fine is fake. Your cat knows when something in you has shifted. Jupiter at opposition is the same energy in the sky. Big truth, high visibility, no hiding. So tonight, the cosmos is giving you two simultaneous messages. The moon says, release what's extra. Jupiter says, and face what's real. Not as punishment, as freedom. So what do we do with that? Not a 45-step ritual, not a complicated spell. This is familiar work, simple, sensory, honest. Here's what tonight's sky is perfect for. Memory sorting. Not remember everything, not dig up trauma. I mean, sort the memories that are still living in your body. Because a familiar teaches you that memory isn't always a story. Sometimes it's a flinch. Sometimes it's tension in the jaw. Sometimes it's the way you check the lock twice, even when you know it's fine. Tonight, ask, what am I still reacting to that is no longer happening? That's not shame, that's information. Next, we're going to talk about house cleansing, not aesthetic cleansing, not the kind that's about vibes for Instagram, the kind that's about your nervous system believing it is safe. Cats are territorial because territory is safe. Familiar energy is home-making magic. Tonight's moon supports anything that says, this is my space, this is my body, this is my life, and I'm allowed to protect it. Next, we're going to bring in truth without drama. Jupiter will tempt you to make it a whole thing. Don't. Tonight is about truth that doesn't need performance. Truth like, I don't trust them. I'm tired. That version of me is gone. I need more quiet. I miss who I was before I learned to shrink. Jupiter expands. The moon refines. So let the truth come. Then let the moon trim it down into something usable. If you want one small action, here it is. Stand near a window or step outside for 30 seconds. Find the brightest steady light you can see. That's your Jupiter energy. Put your hand on your chest and say out loud, show me what my body remembers. Help me release what I don't need. Help me keep what is true. That's it. If you have a cat, watch what they do afterward. No superstition, no theatrics. Just notice. Cats don't predict, they reflect. So here's the spine of tonight. We are under a moon that is moving toward dark, which means simplifying, shedding, finishing. And we are under a Jupiter that is bright enough to insist on honesty, because opposition makes it impossible to miss. This is a night for the kind of magic that doesn't sparkle. It works. It closes loops. It clears the static. It lets the animal part of you come back online. And if you've ever wondered why witches kept familiars, why we trusted animals with our secrets, why a cat became a symbol of the witch in the first place, because animals don't demand you be palatable. They demand you be real. So let this sky help you do what your familiar has been trying to teach you all along. Stop performing safety. Start building it. All right, weird ones. Keep that Jupiter witness in the back of your mind. Keep that waning moon in your bones. And when we step into kitchen witchery, we'll anchor this into the body because the cat remembers, but so does your tongue, so does your breath, so does the warmth you allow yourself to receive. All right, my bright ones, come back to the fire. This Kitchen Witch segment isn't a meal, it's a moment, a ritual, a pause in the middle of winter where everything gets quiet enough that you can hear yourself think and hear what the cat's been trying to tell you all along. Tonight, we're making something simple, soft, gentle, witchy as hell. I call it the cat's night cup, lavender and vanilla warm rice milk. This isn't a drink you slam. This is a drink you arrive into. This is the warm comfort you make when your bones are tired, when your intuition is whispering instead of shouting, when your familiar curls up on your chest and you finally stop moving. This is winter magic in a mug. Let's begin. Cats understand warmth better than any creature on earth. They seek it, they hoard it, they worship it. They sleep directly in sunbeams and radiators and your lap the moment you get comfortable. This drink carries that energy. It's not flashy. It's not high ceremony. It's not about protection or manifestation or spiritual fireworks. It's about softening, warming, noticing, remembering, letting down the guard you didn't realize you had up. Because cats, real or spirit, don't enter when you're armored. They enter when your edges melt. Tonight's recipe helps melt them. You'll need 2 cups of rice milk or oat milk if rice milk isn't available. Rice milk is thinner, dreamier, more subtle, perfect for cat magic. 2 tablespoons of coconut cream for richness, but still dairy-free. 1 tablespoon honey or agave. Half a teaspoon vanilla extract. A 1/4 teaspoon of culinary lavender. Yes, culinary, not potpourri. A pinch of cinnamon or cardamom, but very, very small, just the subtlest little pinch. That's it. Simple, gentle, like the soft pat of a paw. Now, this drink is all about energy. It's about how you move through the steps. So we begin by lowering the lights, not turning them off, just softening. Cats don't do fluorescent kitchen glare. Neither should you. We're going to warm the rice milk slowly. Pour it into a small pot. Don't turn the heat up all the way. Medium-low, like you're talking to a shy friend. As the milk begins to warm, stir it in one direction. Pick clockwise or counterclockwise, but don't switch midway. That direction becomes the intention. Clockwise is for calling in something. Counterclockwise is for releasing something. Choose what you need. Let your breath match your stirring. This is the first spell. Next, we're going to add the coconut cream. When the milk begins steaming, add 2 spoonfuls of coconut cream. Watch it melt, slow, swirling, cloud-like. This is the fat that holds you, the richness that grounds you, the softness your nervous system craves. Think of this as the familiar curling up just a little closer. Next, add your honey or agave, then add your vanilla. The sweetness is deliberate, not indulgence, but softening. Sweetness makes the body exhale. Vanilla opens the emotional field. This is the moment in the ritual where your shoulders drop without you realizing it. Now the lavender. But listen carefully. Lavender is powerful. Use too much and it becomes soapy. Use just enough and it becomes a spirit doorway. Gather a pinch between your fingers and rub them lightly together over the pot, releasing the aroma as you let it fall. This is your invitation to intuition. Lavender is the herb of dreams, clairvoyance, remembrance, psychic opening, familiar contact, liminal sight. When lavender warms, it thins the veil, but gently, like a curtain moving in a breeze. This is the way cats move between worlds. Now taste, adjust. Turn off the heat, taste the milk with a spoon. Ask yourself, softer, sweeter, more vanilla, less lavender, a pinch of cinnamon, or is it perfect as it is? Let your intuition decide. That's part of the magic. Then, and this is optional but powerful, lean over the pot and whisper one thing you need tonight. Just one. Cats don't like long speeches. They like truth. Pour your drink into a mug you love, one that feels like a familiar would choose to drink from it if it had thumbs. Hold the mug with both hands. Feel the warmth against your palms. Feel the heat rising into your chest. Smell the lavender, the vanilla, the sweetness. This is a drink of remembering. Remembering your softness, remembering your intuition, remembering the quiet inside you that is older than your pain, remembering the guides that walk beside you, even the four-legged ones. In folklore and occult tradition, cats are guardians of the dream world, carriers of ancestral memory, messengers between realms, keepers of night, protectors of intuitive sight. This night cup is crafted to honor that energy. Drink it slowly. Let it warm your rib cage. Let it coat your spirit. Let it quiet your mind enough that you can hear the familiar's footsteps in the unseen. This is the kind of drink you sip before dream work, meditation, tarot, shadow journaling, ancestor contact, or simply curling up under a blanket while the winter sky hums outside. It is comfort. It is magic. It is a soft invocation. It is a remembering. And if tonight your cat, physical or spirit, walks into the room while you're drinking this, pay attention. They are responding to the shift. When your mug is almost empty, leave one sip at the bottom. This is your offering, not to any deity, but to the part of you that remembers what the cat remembers. Take that last sip with intention. Say under your breath, I see what I see, or my intuition is not a mistake, or I trust my inner night vision. Then blow out your candle. Ritual complete. Take one last breath with me, weird ones. In and out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let your intuition curl around your ankles like a cat deciding you've earned its affection. Tonight, you met the first of many. Hades with his shadow-slick wisdom, Hera with her velvet vigilance, Calliope with her mischievous, impossible light. These are only the first familiars willing to step into the lamplight with you. The manor keeps more than cats in its halls, and more than memory in its stones. Some familiars are fur and fang. Some are paw and whisker. Some are scale, smoke, bone, or song. Some arrive because the lore keeper calls. Some arrive because the lore keeper is ready. And some arrive because the universe has impeccable timing. Over the next seasons, you will meet more: the canine, the rodent, the reptile, each holding a different doorway, each carrying a different truth, each remembering something humans forgot. But beyond those three, well, my loves, you'll just have to listen. The manor does not reveal its whole menagerie at once. It enjoys a little suspense. Tonight's moonlight was for the cats, the watchers, the seers, the ones who move through liminal space without disturbing a single shadow. If something inside you stirred, it's because cats have always spoken to the part of us that sees without permission. Before you go, ground yourself. Feel your feet, feel your spine, feel the soft hum of your own instincts returning to you. And when you're ready, come tell me your familiar stories, the pets, the spirits, the guardians, the ones who chose you long before you knew what that meant. Email me at ravenslorecast.com or leave a comment on socials. Your voice is part of this lineage now. Until next time, weird ones, walk gently, listen deeper, and trust the ones who show up when the world gets quiet. Wit, wisdom, witchcraft. Until next time. Thank you, my weird witches, for giving me a little of your time and your beautiful attention today. If this episode stirred something in you, a memory, a spark, a question, a fire, please share it. Spread the word. That's how our circle grows. You can find me on socials at ravenslorecast on Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky, and at ravens_lore_cast on Instagram and Threads. And if you've got a question, a story, a spellcraft request, or just the world's cutest familiar photo, email me at ravenslorecast.com. I really do read them. Until next time, keep your fire tended, your humor wicked, and your heart brave and wide open. This is Raven Lorekeeper, signing off with love, grit, and a whisper of magic on your path.